Welcome to it, sports fans, the MKT Show. It is Friday night. Oh, what a great day. Weather's good where I live, so that is good news. The summer is well and truly underway, and we are loving it. We are loving it. The MKT Show, Cliff Central Sport. Welcome to it. Tonight, Friday 5. I'm going to give you my five greatest because I was reading some articles today. Just reading new deals being worked out. NBA, NFL, Fox are about to sign new deals, and anybody who was worried about that, forget about it. So I'm going to give you my top five greatest brands in the world, the top five greatest sporting brands in the world, and of course you can go and look up if you are into that type of thing. Brand finance. We have had Dax on the show. So you can go and check out Brand Finance. Of course, they do all of the brand value in the world. But I'm going to give you just my five greatest in my lifetime, five greatest brands that have transcended time. That's over 30 years. Been watching sports since I was, 6 years old? That makes it 20. Whew, my maths is no good. 28 years, 28, 29 years. I've been watching sports. So five greatest sporting brands. And then I had an incident last night that I had to just point out. Harry Winks had a little bit of a hissy fit after Jose Mourinho took him off. I'm going to talk about a trend that I think we're starting to see as the football world starts to become more corporate. And I think a certain personality types needs to sort of watch their way. I think there is a clear sort of prototype for who we'll tolerate and who we won't. So I'll talk a little bit about that, and then we will head into the weekend. So thank you for joining me. Remember to push like, share, subscribe. Cliff Central Sport on all social media. Cliff C Sport on the Tweet Monster. And I am MKT Inspires on all social media platforms. All right, let's get into it. Today, our Friday 5, do this every Friday. Of course, I'll compile a list. The five greatest sporting brands of my time. I was reading a few articles about the NBA and lockdown and how that's been affected, how they're restructuring, how the Premier League might have its own over-the-top solution. And I just thought, here's the five greatest sporting brands that have just been timeless. They've survived everything, and they just, when I think of the sport, I think of these five. So I've given some teams and some leagues. All right. At number 5, listen, they play in a rubbish league. I don't understand why this brand has never got it together. Is get your, if you've been to Latin Europe before or anywhere in the Latin world, is they just hate the fact that English is the language of the world, right? Now, the United Nations will tell you Spanish is the language of the United Nations. Get over yourself. English is the language of the world, to the point where even in China, they're having English as a parallel language. Stop it, right? But it's a rubbish league. It's never quite got its English and anglicized advertising right. I have no idea what's happening with the camera work in this league. I have no idea what's happening with the production. It feels cheap. Listen, it is to the bigger leagues what ISS has always been to FIFA if you play PlayStation or the Xbox. Right? ISS has never quite been FIFA for whatever reason. It never quite has the licenses. It never has all the players. Never has the right graphics. Can be fun, or the flair, but I mean, this team has survived in a rubbish league, but they managed to transcend Spain, and they are just winners. They are the brand in the sport, and they have been since the very, very beginning that I can remember. The reason I support Croatia is 1996, Davor Šuker. I remember him in a Teka Real Madrid shirt at number 5, ladies and gentlemen. The fifth greatest brand ever is Real Madrid. They are the team in the game. And think of all the great stars, from Puskas to CR7 now. Raul, Zidane, Ronaldo, they all want to play for Real Madrid. Winning personified at all costs. Absolutely love that club, love everything they're about. Win, win, win. At number 4, listen, this team has been on prime time always. This week in American television, they call it getting flexed. Right? They got flexed off for the very first time in 25 years of primetime television. And they have not won a championship in 25 years. They have simply the greatest marketing agent in all of sports, right? It's a very parochial sport. It's strictly an American sport, but this team it's transcended, right? I understand that in order for this team's colors to be chosen, 6 different colors were tried on camera. This was strictly designed for marketing until they landed on the star and the metallic blue. Jerry Jones is the greatest marketer on earth. That's actually what Jerry is great at. He struck oil. He's all about go big or go home. And he says everything's bigger and better where he lives. I've been to his stadium that he built. They call it Jerry World. It is sensational. At that stage, it was the biggest HD television in the world. They continue. It was the third year in a row where they are the most valuable franchise on earth. Right, at number 4, the fourth greatest brand of my time. It's a sport nobody outside of America, we struggle to connect to this, but the Dallas Cowboys are transcendent. It is them and Real Madrid. They are the Real Madrid of American sport. They are transcendent, and to a point where Jerry had the chutzpah to call them America's team. That, by the way, that's not real. That's not other people. He's coined that. He's a marketing expert. He's a marketing genius. By the way, Jerry Jones, everybody uses a certain ticket system. He has his own. Everybody, they have collective bargaining. Jerry says, we're going to do our own thing. So Jerry's special. The Dallas Cowboys are special. America's team at number 4 for the fourth greatest brand. At number 3, this sport has stuttered. I mean, when Michael Jordan left this league, it lost, believe it or not, 50% of its revenue and sponsorship and viewership fell. Listen to that for a number. Michael Jordan was 50% of this league. Since then, however, I think you've had LeBron James for the last 18 years dominate and make this league global, right? I think you've got to say MJ made it global. Before that, it was an American league, and it became fun. I think if you're really into it, I mean, I wasn't around in the 80s, but from everything I read, then you got to go to Magic to say he made it fun. It was Magic against Bird. Larry Bird, of course, the great Boston Celtic player. And then MJ took it global. And this league has done nothing but grow what is really an American sport again. But in lockdown, I saw what the great businesses are. And nobody did lockdown as well as these guys. They are brilliant. They have a great guy running things there. Adam Silver's absolutely amazing. I mean, after David Stern, who everybody seemed to love, Adam Silver's taken it from a player-centric league, but now you're looking at a guy, or from Stern, sorry, took it from a player-centric league, and he really brought it from on the side, America's third sport, turned it into, all right, the players are the stars, and then now we are a corporate juggernaut. That's what the NBA are, and they are the third greatest brand in sport today. They are unstoppable. China, Africa, they are massive. South America, they are growing, and their next deal. Listen, Fox has lots of smart people. ESPN has lots of smart people. They're about to. Everybody said, ratings are dropping. Maybe true. I think there's a couple of other reasons. You can have your own reasons for why their numbers were dropping. They're about to sign massive deals, ESPN and Fox. I read that before lockdown. They've been negotiating in lockdown. I know somebody who works in the NBA. They're going to negotiate new deals. It is fantastic what they've done with the brand. And Adam Silver, you are incredible. Take about the third greatest brand of my time in sporting history, the NBA. At number 2, listen, this is a parochial game, but they are the kings of America. Nobody will compete with them. And I think if our version, the Commonwealth's version of football, doesn't keep an eye on things and doesn't start changing a few things, I think Serie A struggling. I think Germany's struggling in the Bundesliga. And I think La Liga, as I've told you, is an absolute joke. It is run like what we call here a spaza shop, really. This league is sensational. Everything about it is an understanding how to mesh sport, drama, and product. Right? They're unapologetic, right? They are unapologetic. It's basically like Days of Our Lives for men. Now, I'm not saying women don't watch it, but largely it is a hyper-masculine world. It's driven by the drama and the hyper-athleticism. And they don't apologize. They don't try and make it soft. Every other league, even the NBA, I think that's where they lose out. Baseball, it refuses to evolve. The NBA, they'll move off people. Right? The NFL will move off people. They do not care. Listen, in COVID, one of the first things I loved about them is they said, we don't care about competitive fairness. We're not going to stop the league because you got COVID and your quarterback's out. We don't care. The NFL is king. And I believe they have the greatest owner or the guy who oversees the league, and Roger Goodell, they have the greatest commissioner in world sport. Now, some people may argue for the UFC, and I love Dana White, but this guy is dealing with a juggernaut, because he's dealing with ESPN, with Fox, with Supersport. You could only imagine, and he's got 30 billionaires that he essentially has to try and keep on a leash. And nobody has done a greater job, both now in lockdown and over the last 20 years, because really the world's getting softer, right? If you're a rugby fan, and this is where I think rugby has shown its amateurism, is that moms and dads are pulling people out of rugby. I live in the rugby nation of the world, right? Our schools' rugby teams, we are pumping. Go and look at Scotland, Ireland, England. It's full of South Africans. Go and look at France. Go and look at all the leagues. They're full of South Africans. We produce the world's rugby players. We are, I don't care what anybody says, we are the rugby talent place globally. But I'll tell you where the greatest athletes are going. We're having a problem now. They're going to water polo. And the NFL has done an incredible job of professionalizing itself. And I've said it before. The secret to any great sport, get the bureaucrats out the way. The NFL have got the best business model, I believe. In America, I think at number one, we have the best business model. And I think they've nailed it. And they're also lucky to have the world's game. But I think the NFL has managed to keep an unbelievably violent sport viable. I think there's a reason America doesn't have heavyweight boxers anymore. It's because they're all playing NFL. You know why? I want to get paid. I'm going to go play 5-10 years, make my $30 million, $50 million, and get out, and I'll be a superstar forever after boxing. And NFL, largely speaking, all right, you got a bad back, bad knees, but you get out of there alive, right? The concussion stuff, it's not really as big. We've seen what the case is. It's 10 or 15% of the league that has, and the helmets are getting better. Everything's getting safer. They're making it safer. Ladies and gentlemen, the second greatest brand of all time is the NFL. And the NFL is king, and the NFL is coming, by the way. They've started with Tottenham. They have Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, by the way, has a retractable floor, is that grass comes out, and there is an NFL turf. They are coming. La Liga, Bundesliga, Serie A need to watch out, because this brand is it. The NFL, I've told you, they have the ultimate trifecta. Any sporting brand. So get over it. It's not a sport, number one. Or it's not listen, it's not just a sport. It's a product, right? Number two, pay your players. And the ultimate, number three, get the bureaucrats out the way and let the billionaires own the teams. Because Jerry Jones has negotiated. Everybody listens to Jerry. Everybody wins. The NFL is king all the time. Sunday, Thursday, they are kings. NFL's coming, and they are the second greatest league. Number one, there is no competition for this one. It is, and I've described it once again, it is days of our lives for men. It is the game, the greatest show on earth, they call it. There is nothing you can do. And in 1992, right, Rupert Murdoch brought his money over from Australia, and he handed it over to Sky Sports, and the rest is history. They left the English Football League and the FA. And if you haven't seen our interview with John Smith, go and look for it. He was one of the agents who collaborated and got everybody together and greased the wheels and gave us the greatest show on earth, right? Hyper masculine, high drama, most money, best ownership, most innovative, greatest production. By the way, there's no camera work like this in the world. The NFL may be a close second, but everything about the Premier League is absolutely phenomenal. The greatest brand on earth. It is the greatest sporting brand on earth. It is absolutely bulletproof. They've been the best in lockdown. They were the best in lockdown. Really, I think they were second to come back after Germany, and they've been unbelievable since. They have handled terrible governance brilliantly. You have to be honest. The UK has struggled to contain coronavirus and get the politicians underway. But this is what happens. Listen, billionaires will find a way to innovate. Bureaucrats will find a way to make rules. The English Premier League is king. It is the greatest brand of my time, 28 years going strong. It's the greatest brand on earth. There's just nothing like the EPL. It's the world's game. Nobody, every weekend, it is 1.2 billion eyeballs. Formula One gets 1.2 billion eyeballs per year. The Premier League gets that every single week. And that's just on network television. Forget about shoulder content. We don't know in terms of VPN viewership. We don't understand. We don't know what it's like on beIN. We don't know what it's like even on SuperSport. The analysis isn't really great in Africa, and we're the second biggest consumer of the Premier League behind China. So 1.2 recorded eyeballs on the Premier League. 1.2 billion per weekend. It's king. They innovate. They're aggressive. They'll change. VAR will try it. Listen, aggressive always wins. People don't like aggressive, but it wins. Dana White, NFL, Roger Goodell's aggressive. Change. Scuddamore's left. There's been a bit of shine taken off the Premier League, but what he's left is the greatest brand on earth. And great brands survive. Right? They are robust. No other league has been like the Premier League. Right? French, they stopped and quit, and people aren't making decisions, and everyone wants a decision. The Premier League was strong. We are going on. We don't care. Strong decision-making at the top. UFC, strong, and UFC is coming. NFL, strong. We don't care about competitive advantage. Folks, put lots of money, alpha males and alpha females in the same room. You're going to be successful. There's no room for soft if you want to win. Now, if you're happy to participate and make everybody happy, stop trying to make everyone happy. People hate the Premier League. And I've always said this. I want to hate my leadership a little bit. I don't want to love my leaders. So I love Angela Merkel. There's something about her that I'm like, ugh, right? Angela Merkel is like, ugh. I want to hate my leader in some capacity. You know why? Because I want to know that when a tough decision comes, somewhere deep down in your soul, maybe your ego won't let you admit it, there will be tough decisions to be made. And I want my leaders to go against the society. Often the great leaders, right? You look at history, they make decisions against the popular culture and the popular vote. I want that leader. Now, I want to dislike a part of them. Roger Goodell, Scudamore, the Premier League, they're bullies, right? But that's what it costs to win. Don't try and be popular. That's not what wins, right? So the social justice warriors and pandering, that doesn't win. Martin Luther King and these people that were great, they didn't pander to anyone. They weren't tolerant of people. They were aggressive, and they spoke of this is what's going to happen, and we're unpopular. I don't care. Scudamore, Goodell, Silver, NBA, the Premier League does not care. We are the bullies. I mean, look how they handled the situation with the EPL. They squeezed every pound out of them. Hey, you want a loan? We're going to make you suffer for that because we've been telling you for 10 years you're running a rubbish product. EPL, listen, the Football League and the FA didn't listen. Look now. They've just agreed a £250 million loan deal for all these clubs. Every club now in the First Division, in the Championship and the Football League, and the Football League itself is indebted to the Premier League forever. See, what happens is if you run your business well in the good times, right, and you keep your balance sheet the way it should be, when the bad times come, right, you can ride the crest of the wave. The EFL has not been doing that. The Premier League is king. Absolutely love it. Number 5, Real Madrid. Number 4, Dallas Cowboys. Number 3, NBA. Number 2, NFL. And at number 1, the king of all kings, the English Premier League. That is the Friday 5 for best sports brands on earth right now. Not even close. All right, take some comments. And then we will move on to the last subject. And I think old school is cool. And I'll tell you, Harry Winks last night, not impressed by that. But it tells me something else. Jacques Wilson says, hey, that should happen with rugby. Rugby should be privatized. Jacques, I mean, and everybody tends to think it's just South Africa. Everybody, wherever you live, right, your problems are the biggest problems of the world. Politics, people think politics and South African sport are bad. You have no idea. If you don't know athletics, and it's global. It's global. Politics and athletics it's horrifying. It's absolutely horrible. Sebastian Coe and what they've done with athletics is horrendous. Because here's the model. NBA, NFL, and EPL. Right? Pay your players. Number 1. So pay your players the most money you can within the business model. That you must do. hand the league over. So hand teams over to billionaires, right? That is crucial. Those are non-negotiable. Number 3, and I cannot state this one enough, you must have a strong commissioner or somebody running it. No committees. That's nonsense. Look at South African football. Look at cricket. Because I tell you what committees are for. They're for bureaucrats. They name one country, place, business anywhere in the history of mankind. And by the way, I lean very far left with my politics to even a Marxist, theoretical Marxist kind of point, right? Theoretically, I lean that far left. But when we talk about business, and that's what sport is, you need almost that avaricious, that egotistical, almost megalomaniac-like drive of those hyper-driven men and women that take us to the next level. We call them billionaires. But you need somebody to create structure. You need somebody strong at the top. And you need one person, it's clear, here's in charge. Do not, what is the old saying? A camel is a horse by a committee, right? All a camel is a horse by committee. What does that mean? Is you've taken a million ideas. You wanted a horse really, but you thought a hump doesn't look bad. No, let's split the hooves. And then you got like a really big, overblown horse. What you want is a horse. Horses can also go in the desert. There's different breeds. You look at the Arabians. To this day, they race them in the desert over 100 miles. So, Jacques, I could not agree more. Pay your players. Number 1, pay your players. They are the product. But bureaucrats don't see life that way. Let me tell you what bureaucrats do. They make rules. Bureaucrats don't innovate. Stop telling me. Listen, I have 2 family members. My sister and my mother are in policy, global policy. I can tell you for free, they're obsessed with making rules. Rules hold people back. Billionaires want to break rules. And then that's where you get the NFL. You get Mavericks, right? You get people like Jerry Jones, America's team, the global game. America does it brilliantly. The World Series. I mean, also the World Series is because it was sponsored by the World, the newspaper, the World back in the day. But now they kind of play it off like we're world champions. You hear Americans, you win the NFL, we are world champions. Billionaires. Let billionaires own South African rugby, right? Let them own the teams. But what you need is a Dana White. By the way, UFC 5 years ago, Fertitta Brothers, $100 million. UFC today, Fox bought it for $4.1 billion. There is only one reason for that. Dana White. You need a strong leader. Listen, here's the old saying. Everybody likes the idea of a dictator. Nobody actually wants to live under one. Well, sport is the one place where you need a dictator. It's why boxing is failing. It's why South African cricket is failing. It's why South African rugby is failing. It's why South African football is failing. It's all done by committee. No, that doesn't work. That can work for politics, bureaucrats, social justice warrior leagues where they all go and sit in air-conditioned offices and discuss, let's have meetings about meetings. Billionaires don't do that. Let's build a league. Let's pay our players. Let's build the product. Let's put it on TV. Very simple. Pay your players. Let billionaires own the teams. And most of all, have one strong leader. Don't make decisions by committee. Roger Goodell makes decisions. The NFL says no competitive advantage. We don't care about a global pandemic. I don't want to hear from anybody. That's what we're doing. We'll see you at the end. If you don't want to be here, sell your team. We don't give a damn. That's leadership. And listen, stop trying to suppress, in this case, hypermasculinity. It wins. Hyperfemininity. It wins. You want alpha males and females running your business. Now, if you want a mediocre business, go and sit with social justice warriors and go and sit in air-conditioned offices and go and talk about meetings and nothing ever happens. And there we go. You go on team buildings for 10 weeks to establish whether we should establish a committee to be a committee about the rulemaking so that it's fair for everyone. Get fairness out the way. We don't care about fairness. We care about winning. Sport, ladies and gentlemen, is urgent. You know who's the most urgent people on the planet? Elon Musk. Bill Gates, right? Those people are urgent. I want to make $1 billion. Right now, if you didn't see the story, Tesla trying to open a new place, they guarantee often that when they open a plant, I believe it's 12 months from the first day they lay the first brick down. They guarantee that it'll be functional after 12 months. Germany right now, they said there's snakes hibernating. Forget it. Right? Or the forest you want to tear down, forget it. Bureaucrats hold Elon Musk back. He says, okay, we'll wait. We'll find a different place. But that's what billionaires do. Urgent. We want to do it now. In fact, we should have done it yesterday. Bureaucrats. I have them in my family, folks. They want to make rules. Rules don't lead to innovation. Be strong. If you're a man or a woman right now, just before I move on to the last topic, and you're strong and your family keeps telling you, oh, you're so aggressive, please, I've said this before. Mediocrity is a cancer, folks. Do not allow it into your life. If you don't have if you have people in your life that aren't holding you accountable, let's say you're in a relationship, whether it's with your mother, a romantic one, you don't want friends around you where, I don't know, you're cheating on your wife or husband and your friend let you get away with it. That's mediocrity. You don't want to live a life like that. That's mediocrity. You want great people around you, 5-star personas, right? You want people around you that hold you accountable. You hold them accountable. You want to live a fulfilled life. That's what billionaires will do for you, is let's drive, let's go forward. They're hungry. And then you have one man or woman at the top. You keep them accountable. You keep the dogs on a leash. Right? There is corporate governance. There is a certain way to do this. You need parity. That's what Roger Goodell does for the NFL. That's what Adam Silver does for the NBA. And that's what Scudamore did for the Premier League and built the greatest product on earth. So I couldn't agree more, Jacques. For goodness sake, SA Rugby is dead. Sanzar is dead. IRB dead. All bureaucrats. Get them out the way. Rugby's dead. If you've been watching the show since the beginning, what have I been saying? And people called me crazy. Rugby's dead. Couldn't hold together Super Rugby. Super Rugby Unlocked was a joke. Australia's rugby fell apart. You know why? Because bureaucrats are in charge. Tell you for free. Put Johan Rupert in charge of South African rugby for 10 years. You see what happens. Put Patrice Motsepe in charge of South African rugby just for 10 years. Because these bureaucrats have had their chance for how long? Put a billionaire in charge right now, right? Sell every team, right? I guarantee you in South Africa, sell every team to 6 billionaires. See what South African rugby looks like. Look at the French top 14. Look at the French top 14. Look at the quality of that league. Look what it's doing to rugby viewership numbers. Nobody's watching the English Premier League anymore. Get salary caps out the way. Why is there a salary cap? I'm a billionaire. I don't care about... Listen, we'll figure out a way to make it sustainable. That's why you have a strong commissioner. The NFL. Get 30 billionaires together. Let's figure out the collective bargaining and let's find a way to pay our players. And that's what billionaires do. They find a way to pay people and make it profitable and build products. The French league right now is the best we've got in rugby, and it's still very amateur because it's a mess. There's no commissioner. It's still every team's doing what they want. You don't really want that. The English Premiership in rugby is an absolute joke. A salary cap. What? In such a brutal sport, you want to cap the amount of money the players can make. I don't understand that. In football, there's no salary cap. I understand that, obviously, the global income. But trust me, billionaires will find a way to go and find money globally. Right? Billionaires have connections everywhere. All of a sudden, you'll see Chinese ownership in South African rugby if Johan Rupert's involved, if Patrice Motsepe is involved. Trust me. Bureaucrats think local, tighten, make rules, stop growth, because growth is hard to manage. Terrible. Jacques couldn't agree with you more. Emmanuel Mabungu says, what do you think of the European Super League everyone has been talking about? I think it would be a terrible, terrible, terrible decision. Terrible. It would be terrible, 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 terrible. Because if you don't know, I always say international football is a horrible model. It is a cap model. All that is going is to an international model, really. And that's capped, right? Because let's say you have 16 teams in that. Let's say you have 16 teams. And I'm English. And I live in Newcastle, which is one of the greatest places to love football on earth. What do you do then? Watch the championship? You want to watch the best product, right? You can't get Newcastle fans to support Tottenham. So what you do is you cap the income, right? The Champions League, I think, needs to restructure the way it is. UEFA is too bureaucratic. It's too samey. They need to find a better way, maybe make it purely knockout. I don't know. They need to find another way to generate revenue. but I think the European Super League would be stupid. It would be terrible. Here's my thing, all right? Here's the model in life, and the NFL have got it dead right, and the EPL have got it dead right. Get your local product as strong as it can be. Make your local product, right, international facing. EPL, NFL, they are the two kings. Because I believe anywhere where it starts getting international, then you have to start worrying about bureaucracy. And let's look at the bureaucrat leagues, and let's look at any sport where it's international. Because once you go to Super League, it gets a little bit England versus Germany versus Spain. You start getting, again, the Spanish Football Federation involved, the FA involved. No, I want them out the way. I want UEFA out the way. That's my problem. But look at anything that's international. It's amateur, gymnastics, athletics, rugby, cricket. Terrible. The business model, make it local, keep the billionaires, and make your product local. Then they will come. Build it and they will come. For me, going international, all it needs is bureaucracy. And I hate, folks, I'm into business. I'm into job creation. I resent bureaucrats 99.9% of the time. Do we need rules? Yes. You can't have full-on greed. And also, it's not sustainable to just be greedy and say every market. I mean, we saw it in 2008 that we've got infinite growth. That's rubbish. That's why I said in a little bit ago, you need a strong commissioner for the viability of the model to work. NFL and EPL do it better than anybody, and I believe the NBA are third. So, no, terrible. Super League would be terrible. Especially if you're the Premier League, why would you want it? You know, the Premier League's got it perfect. Big versus small. We all love that, right? The bullies from Manchester playing Burnley. We love that, right? Think of every movie you watch, because that's what football is, right? It is the height of culture. Sport, I believe the NFL and football are what the great Simon Critchley, if you haven't heard of Simon Critchley and you want to take a slightly more philosophical look at sport, and I believe it is an expression of culture, but football is what the great Simon Critchley calls the working class ballet. Now, in ballet, and we understand in plays and movies, if you're into series, you don't just want good guys or what we call protagonists. It doesn't work. That loses its allure, right? You also want the little guy, the antagonist, or the victim. I mean, the antagonist often can be the bully, but you need protagonist, antagonist. And you know where the magic lies? In there, right? Because what do we love in movies? Rocky, the underdog. He comes, he wins against all odds. You need that. When it's just 16 rich teams, at a point, right, it's just icing. And Emmanuel, listen, I like icing, but you need cake, right? Too much icing makes you sick. I've never heard it. Honestly, you can eat a whole cake. I can eat a whole cake in one sitting. I'm not eating a full bowl of icing, right? So it would be illogical to me, especially if you're the Premier League. Now, if you're German, Spanish, and Italian, because you've run your league so badly, it's just like the English Football League. It probably makes more sense for you. But if I'm the Premier League, I say forget it. By the way, the 20th, so the team that comes last in the Premier League gets more money than Real Madrid or the winner of La Liga, the winner of Serie A, and the winner in Germany. Why leave that? And by the way, the English Premier League is just getting started. Remember, the next thing for them, I don't know if you want to look this up, TIFO Football, TIFO, go and Google OTT Premier League. That's over-the-top solution. That means almost like, you know what, let's cut out Sky Sports. We'll just sell you that directly. They're exploring that. That's the next level. Oh my goodness. Their current deal, I believe, is £13.8 billion with Sky for UK rights. Imagine the amount of money they're going to make when they can sell you the games directly. And by the way, the Premier League has just gotten started. They haven't started in China. Africa, they haven't even started exploring. America, they're just breaking into. South America, they haven't even started. Those are 4 massive territories, developing nations. And China, they haven't even started in China. Go and read the articles on the Premier League trying to break into China. That's why the Mesut Ozil thing was such a problem, right? China said, we're not showing Chelsea games if you play this guy. So if you're the Premier League, no way. No way. Jacques Wilson says, sport is becoming more like the EU. So I think that's a good point. And again, I worry about that. Outside of the NFL and the Premier League, Jacques, I agree with you, and it's terrible. Look, we live in South Africa. Just look at the state of rugby. Look at the state of cricket now. You know why? It's bureaucrats in charge. Bureaucrats have never started a business anyway, so they don't understand the value of paying your players. To them, it's like, hey, how much can we save? Let's be conservative. Let's make rules. And even then, it's hypothetical for them because they've never played with their own money. They don't know how to take risks. They don't have the great Jerry Jones I was just talking about calls it an appetite for ambiguity. You must have an appetite for ambiguity. What does that mean? You must be willing to take risks. To grow in life, in business, you can use it in your personal life. I hate to sound like a preacher or a motivational speaker, but you just use it in your own personal life. Guys, we've all left a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a job, and gone, I don't know how I'm going to pay bills at the end of the month, but all I know is I'm at a dead end here. What do? You take a leap of faith. That's what billionaires do. Jerry Jones famously has gone broke and bust 3 times trying to find oil in Dallas. Eventually, he struck it rich. I believe his companies to this day have generated over $300 billion after being broke 3 times. So this is what we're talking about, right? And I agree with you, Jacques. Rugby, cricket, gymnastics, hockey. These sports are great. There are markets for these things. Honestly, there is no reason Formula One has bigger viewership than athletics, right? Than rugby, than, what else am I thinking? Gymnastics, volleyball. These are unbelievably tens of millions of people watch these sports. The F1 is for rich kids. Listen, MotoGP, you can't get into MotoGP. I know somebody who's in motorsport. You got to, honestly, let's just face the truth, right? You got to be a trust fund kid to get into those sports. So they're 1% sports, but they're killing. Golf, killing. Tennis, another privileged people's sport. Nobody can get into tennis. It's hard. You got to be rich. Serena and them are a once-in-a-lifetime sport. Unless you got state funding like Russia, there's a reason the old Eastern Bloc countries produce so many. It's because it was state funded. If you don't understand the history of tennis in the East, right? Unless you got that kind of funding and you have academies that are state funded and we're going to win in tennis. Those are all 1% sports. Why are they doing better than everyone else? I'll tell you why. Billionaires are in charge. Listen, you can hate that old man Bernie Ecclestone all you want. You can hate the old Bernie all you want. Hate him all you want. What he did for Formula One, they just are about to secure a £6 billion renewal of F1. And I hate F1. I'll be honest with you, motorsport put me to sleep. But what do you do? Billionaire. Innovate. No bureaucrats in Formula One, tennis or golf. And you see the prize money in golf. Golf's for old men. Athletics is awesome. Tell me you don't like watching Usain Bolt. But what happens in athletics? All the bureaucrats. What happens in cricket? We hear too much from the bureaucrats. And I don't mean just in South Africa. In England, I hear too much from Andrew Strauss and the board and selection. Why is that stuff on TV? Take me into the lives of the sport. Do what the NFL and the Premier League do. I want to hear about the players and the drama and Paul Pogba's this. Take me to the players. Put the players on TV. I don't care what Andrew Strauss is doing if you're in England. I just don't. I don't care what the ECB's new policy is on county cricket. But it's in the news all the time. I don't care what again, Dave Richardson sold cricket to England, Australia, and India. Why is that in the news all the time? Make the players the stars. Bureaucrats are overpaid and overvalued, I'm afraid. And again, if the sport is international, it's amateur. And you know what the problem with all of these sports are, before I finish off on this rant, is the players are more professional than the administrators. Kane happened. Go and look at EPL, go and look at NFL, go and look at NBA. Look at the resume of the people in charge. Go and look at Goodell, go and look at Adam Silver, and go and look at, for me, Scudamore's the best that the English Premier League's ever had. Richard Scudamore, go and look his name up, and go and look at their resumes. Go and look at Cricket South Africa, the ECB, Andrew Strauss. What? Who are these guys? never run businesses before, never dealt with trillions of dollars before. They have no idea how to build and scale businesses. Cricket's a business. Why is the IPL outdoing Test cricket? Why couldn't England and South Africa put 6 games together? But the IPL put on a whole tournament for 6 weeks. You know why? Pay your players. People respond to incentives. Pay your players. You know what happens when you pay me $1 million for 6 weeks? I'm going to stay in a bubble. Now, when you're the bureaucrats, you want to pay yourself $6 million and we're all important and it's all about us. Why do you think FIFA's falling apart? Nobody needs them. What bureaucrats do now, we've got apps for that, mate. Be honest with yourselves. Put billionaires there, strong leadership, and I'm definitely with Jacques, and it's becoming like the EU. We don't, honestly, sports fans don't care about bureaucrats. Let that happen in the background. Make the stars, the sports stars, the stars of the game. Pay your players. All right, let's move on. Great point there, Jacques. Great question, Emmanuel. Let's move on. Listen, we live in a time, right, where we're young. It's all about being young. Hey, you want to be moving. You want to be grooving. Moving on to the second point. I'll tell you why old school is cool, and I saw something last night. You got to be moving and grooving, right? You got to be on Instagram. You got to be cool. Everything's about young. We venerate the young, the youth. Old people. What is it? Okay, boomer. That's what people are saying. Everything's about being young. They don't understand me. The old people still run the world. Largely old men, which is a problem. But even then, even across the board, women, they're old. They're 50. Think of your bosses that own Elon Musk. People, what do you think? He's 25. Bill Gates is what? Nearly 70. Buffett's nearly 90. Old people still run the world. Largely men, okay, but you go anywhere. I have mentors that are male and female, right? Old school is still cool. Please stop listening to Twitter. Twitter's not the real world. And I saw Harry Winks last night having a sulk. If you're a Tottenham fan, that worries me. It would worry me even more if Jose Mourinho wasn't in charge. But let me tell you something. We all know this. People, the older you get in life, you realize the nicer you are to people on the back end, right? Be careful. My father used to say, what you do and say matters. And my mother used to say, what you do and say matters all the time. And I'm starting to realize as I get older. If you are nice to people, if people like you, they'll find a reason to keep you. If people like you, they'll find a reason to keep you. If people don't like you, at the first sign of trouble, I don't care how talented you are, they'll find a reason to let you go. Tell me I'm crazy. Whether that's in your relationship, in business. What Harry Winks displayed last night is such a lack of understanding of the real, but we've seen it now, especially as football is getting more and more corporate, right? Let's be honest, football is becoming more and more of a business. There's no longer just 10 million pounds on the line. There's over 200 million pounds a season on the line. The difference between being in the Premier League and not. 250 million pounds a year. That's what that ticket is worth. They call the championship playoff game, right, the most expensive match in sport. Because when you go up, it's a guaranteed 250 million pounds, give or take. Old school is still cool. Listen, let me give you an example. Everybody hates Willian. Why do you think Arsenal took him? He's a pro. Never trouble, always fit, never makes trouble, quality player, and maybe a little bit not at his best, but also find a reason to keep him. Paul Pogba's in his prime. Man United can't wait to move off him. Listen, Pogba in his prime, yes, they got good money. Juventus were like, meh, can do without you. Josepa Azpilicueta is well past his prime. Chelsea found every reason to keep him. Harry Winks and Dele Alli are finding out very, very quickly that you've got to be a grown-up. See, what happens when you think you're cool and you're the Twitter guy, Dele Alli is the perfect example. Because Twitter will always tell you, as a good friend of mine, she always says, listen, all these little kids running around on Twitter. Problem is you get people that tell you what you want to hear, not what you need to hear. And in order to be a grown-up, you need, that's why, when we were younger, you'd always say, oh, you're so whipped with your girlfriend. I remember, I'm speaking just for guys now. You're so whipped. What you really mean is, oh no, he's got a grown up for a girlfriend. And she says drinking on Sundays, every Sunday, no good. Because we got to go to work on Monday. We got bills at the end of the month, right? I have to introduce you to my mother, right? adults, grown-ups, and girls. I'm speaking for guys now, if you're nice to them, if you don't drink all the time, it's not always a frat party, they'll find a reason to keep you. You start messing around, you have a grown-up girlfriend, by 28, 29, 30, 30, you're still drinking on Sundays, get out of town. No adult girl wants that. No adult football club wants Harry Winks. Last night displayed to me why Dele Alli's on the way out. Jose Mourinho's a grown-up. There's a reason why Jose Mourinho always has older players. People say, oh, he doesn't develop youngsters. And Jose and I are similar in this case. I've told you before. You're under the age of 28, you make me nervous. Problem is with people under that, you're sensitive. People shout at you. Now, the millennials, and I'm a millennial, but people shout at you, oh, my God, I can't believe how I'm triggered. The world isn't built for your sensitivity. Harry Winks, come the hell off the pitch, sit down and be professional. Be a grown-up. And by the way, if Harry Winks doesn't think that is the last time he'll play under Jose Mourinho, he's got another thing coming. And he displayed another lack of self-awareness. In life, be who you can afford to be. Harry Winks, you're not Ronaldinho. Ronaldinho can do that. All right, we go fight with him in the dressing room. Harry Winks, what I saw last night, get away from Dele Alli. He'll kill your career. But what I'm seeing is the football world is talking to you, folks. And people aren't listening. You know, my father always used to say, only idiots learn from their own mistakes. Dele Alli, Paul Pogba, Ravel Morrison, and Jack Grealish. What do we see more and more? No, thank you. The big clubs are saying no, thank you. Man United have had enough of Paul Pogba. Ronaldinho, 3 seasons at Barcelona. No, thank you. A grown-up arrives, finally, because Tottenham haven't had a real grown-up manager. I like Pochettino, but Mourinho is a grown-up. Right? Pochettino is a juvenile lion. Mourinho has a full mane and will dominate the territory. He's not going to put up with the cubs from the previous tribe. You ain't it. Get out. Right? Ravel Morrison, Grealish. We're seeing Grealish now. England not picking him. Manchester United said, too rich for our blood. These Mavericks, I'm telling you, listen, the corporate world is always talking to you. Will we pay you? Will we pay for you? Will we put you on adverts? There's 4. Dele Alli, Paul Pogba, Ravel Morrison, Jack Grealish. They need to watch out. It's becoming more corporate. This Maverick behavior, Harry Winks last night, Dele Alli seeing, it's not the game. And be careful, folks. Everyone thinks they're going to be around forever. Ronaldinho was around for 3 seasons at Barcelona, and even his talent transcended talent. They said, it's too rich for our blood. Barcelona had the great El Pibe de Oro, IRP, Diego Maradona, 2 seasons. We can't do it. The corporate companies, football will go on without you. Sport will go on without you. Young people need to hear that, and it's so tough when they pay you and you hear that. Just trust me, from my own failed career, I wasn't hearing it at the time. But I like grown-ups, man. So I like these great young players. So I like Mason Mount. So I like Frank Lampard, right? I like these guys. I really, really like grown-ups. So even if I don't think he's world-class, I like Harry Kane. I admire Raheem Sterling for what he's done in growing up. Grow up. And you know, I think the players I really love is, you know, money doesn't change people. It just makes them more of who they are. When somebody pays you, and this is how I was just brought up by my mother, is when somebody pays you, it's not to say well done for the work you've done. When I pay you, that's when you must start saying, I'm going to show you why I'm worth this money. Not I deserve this money. That's not leadership, folks. That's not being grown up. If you're a grown up, when they pay you, when they give you the raise, then it's time to go, all right, let me show you why I'm worth that money. Not I deserve this money. That's middle management. That's not leadership mentality. Look at the great players. Raheem Sterling, Man City paid him. What happened? And he's not world-class by anything. But listen, he's limited, right? Pep found a way to make Raheem Sterling work. Why? He's a grown-up. He's not doing his Liverpool and QPR antics anymore. Raheem Sterling, for whatever you think of his limited football ability, grown-up. Jose Mourinho, what does he do? He comes in, Harry Kane, I'm going to make you central. Why? Grown-up. Son Heung-min, grown-up. Listen, you think Man United couldn't have paid Dortmund's asking price? Man United could pay £200 million for a player and make it work with FFP. Trust me, they are the brand. But they looked at Jadon Sancho. You need a haircut, right? In lockdown. You broke the lockdown twice, in fact, Jadon Sancho. And then you got the Instagram. And then you're sulking when you can't move. Pretty sure somebody above Ed Woodward said, we've seen this before. We got Paul Pogba. We just had Ravel Morrison. We've got Jesse Lingard in here already. Too rich for our blood. I've always said, and this is the type of person I am, I'll finish off with this. System over talent. Wherever you go in life, system over talent. There's lots of talented men and women in this planet. Look at your own family. Look at your own life. How many talented people do you know? Lying on the couch, lazy. That's a character issue. I'm sorry. Dele Alli, Pogba, Ravel Morrison, Jack Grealish. The system will not. It will not. If there's one thing, right, business cannot abide, it's chaos. Capitalism and business cannot abide chaos. Because if I don't know what my short, medium, and long-term future look like, I cannot abide you in my business model. Go and if you have any actuarial science friends, go and ask them, what is the enemy of business models? And I know sports fans hate to hear this because sports not a business. We just put the business and sort of capitalists and billionaires, what they will not abide is chaos. They will not abide chaos. And all Dele Alli is, and all Paul Pogba is, and all Ravel Morrison was, and all Jack Grealish is chaos. No, thank you. Football's bigger than you. It'll go on without you. So Harry Winks, be very, very careful, my friend. Jose Mourinho has sacked far bigger players than you. Jose Mourinho fell out with Cristiano Ronaldo. Don't follow in the way of Dele Alli. I think that was a huge mistake last night, what he did. And Jose Mourinho doesn't muck about like that. And Daniel Levy doesn't play games. Harry Winks, be who you can afford to be. All right, we'll finish off with this. Jacques Houston says, look at Giroud. The perfect professional. Chelsea wants him to stay, and also Lampard. He's 34. And folks, I'd love to know. Listen, hit me up. MKT Inspires on social media. Slide into the DMs. Otherwise, sport, no S, sport@cliffcentral.com. I'd love to hear your opinions about sport, whatever's happening in your life, in business. I like to hear from people. I like reading people's stories. By the way, I love to learn. But tell me if I'm wrong, right? Jacques Goossens made a great example. 34-year-old Olivier Giroud. Chelsea could move on. They got Timo Werner. They got Tammy Abraham. But they keep a 34-year-old Giroud around who's been benched. He's been messed around. Last season, he saved Chelsea's season, really, because Tammy Abraham fell apart. The pressure got too much at the end of the season. You saw what Giroud did at 34, 33, 34. And now, again, oldest player to ever score a Premier League hat-trick. Professional. And what has he done is, okay, it's not ideal, but I'm going to keep my nose down. What happens then? People like you, they'll find a reason to keep you around. And tell me you haven't experienced it in your own life. Be good to people. And you've been bad to people, they very quickly, all right, move off this person. People aren't idiots. And the older you get, stop listening to Twitter and people reinforcing your negative behavior. Oh, yeah, you're right. It's those old people. People are old. They don't understand you, bro, or my sister. Rubbish. Get that away from you. Folks, let me tell you, as somebody who has tried, I've pushed back at authority. You know what authority likes to do? They like to flex and fire people. Don't mess with them too much. Don't push back too much. Know who you are, self-awareness, and what self-awareness does, it sucks all of the tension out the room. And you have an option in life, right? You can be one of two things everywhere you go, personal and business. And Olivier Giroud, Jacques, it's a great way to finish off. You can be an agitator or you can be a lubricator in every situation in life. And you can choose that. That's a personal choice. Paul Pogba's an agitator. Everywhere he's been, it's something prickly. It's another story. Deschamps. Listen, football is hard enough. Jose Mourinho doesn't want to answer stories about Dele Alli and Harry Winks on Monday mornings. It's hard enough to coach and look after a bunch of spoiled brat millionaires. I don't need another guy being a distraction. Trust me, top-level coaches hate distractions. Billionaires in businesses, you know what people want? You know what successful people want? People that'll solve their problems. If I like you, I'll find a reason to keep you. And in life, you have this choice wherever you go. And I used to be an agitator my whole life. Boo-hoo, it's all about me. Since I've made a mental shift, and I'm really trying, because I'm a difficult person at the best of times. People will tell you who know me. But you can be an agitator or you can be a lubricator in every situation. You choose. Olivier Giroud, lubricator. Makes the dressing room work. Josepa Azpilicueta, he's not at his best anymore. Reece James is clearly the alpha dog now. But Azpilicueta has been nothing but a club pro. He'll get another contract if he wants. Giroud, he may get another 2-year extension. Paul Pogba, big talent, big, economically, he can go anywhere he wants. Okay, listen. Juventus have said no to you. Manchester United are saying no to you. No big club's going to touch Paul Pogba. Forget it. Real Madrid, you forget it. Barcelona, you forget it. You know where he'll go next is PSG. And honestly, PSG is just a retirement package. You can't win there. Honestly, it is the desert out there. Who wants to play in Liga E? Nobody. It's a dead league. It's the Farmers League. Forget it. You go to PSG, you're telling me I'm really retiring. Look at the guys they've got. Outside of Mbappe, Mbappe trapped himself. I think he made a huge mistake. But Neymar's not the guy you want to play with, folks. He's not a grown-up. Paul Pogba's next move will prove me right, I think. Because I think he'll go to PSG, and I'll be right. I'll say, that's not a grown-up. And you know what? Go and get your money. I love that. But you're not serious about football. Top clubs will pay you. Sergio Ramos, grown-up. Giroud, grown-up. Jack Grealish, Man United won't touch you. Jadon Sancho, I think his roof will probably be Tottenham. I don't think Man United go back in for him. That's my thoughts. Jacques, great point. And, this is what it is, folks. Wherever you are, be a grown-up. You can be an agitator or you can be a social lubricant. You choose. Harry Winks last night is becoming an agitator. Production versus tolerance. You ain't going to last, sir. Love to know what people think. sport@cliffcentral.com. I am MKT Inspires on all social media. Ladies and gentlemen, for tonight, that is the show. For this week, that is the show. For tonight, you could have been anywhere with anybody. You chose to be with us. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm MKT. That is Gareth Cliff. For those not watching the podcast, I got Gareth Cliff with me in studio. We are physical distancing, though. This has been Cliff Central Sport. It has been the MKT Show. It's been another great week. Sport at cliffcentral.com. Otherwise, Cliff Central Sport on all social media platforms. MKT Inspires on all social media platforms. Ladies and gentlemen, for now, have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy the Premier League this weekend. Cannot wait to talk more about the Prem. There's a great fight, by the way. Anthony Joshua, backing him. Love him. AJ Pulev this weekend. Love the pugilist, the fine art of boxing, the sweet science, they call it. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, looking forward to a great weekend. Stay loved. Be safe. But for now, we are the hell out of here.